welcome back to Who Cares What They Think podcast, episode 5, aka the podcast where we hope that Phil's camera will work right on cue. His camera. For those not watching and just listening, Phil's camera like popped out for a second and came back on. So I don't know. We need to hurry it up here.
Oh my god! Already, that's awesome.
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Honestly, I'm really good. My cup's full right now. Today was Run Club Day, so
heck yeah.
After it, we had a solid 13 people show up, and it was raining this morning. Not gonna lie, there was some thoughts about canceling because around 6 o'clock this morning there was some lightning going off. Mm-hmm. And so brunch sounded really good, but I googled like lightning strikes in Charlotte, and then it said the closest one at this current time was 200 miles away.
Yeah,
we followed through with it and finished strong.
Heck yeah! How many people did you have?
I believe we had 13 people, and we had like 4 or 5 new people, and then like 8 or 9 people who've been like coming consistently.
That's
like,
awesome.
To Run Club. Yeah. So it was actually
This is what, week 3?
This is week 4. So it's actually kind of crazy too. So 2 of the 4 weeks it's rained. So week 1 it rained. Week 4 it rained. Last week was really cold, and week 2 is like the only week that was like decently, like decent weather. And besides today there was been the least amount of people. But I guess it's grown every single time each week with new people. And so I feel like once it starts getting like warmer out, I feel like it'll be a banger of a thing to do on a Sunday morning.
Dude, especially people love brunch on Sundays, and then something like today, Super Bowl Sunday, it's like you got the Super Bowl. I feel like Run Club is so dope because on a Sunday morning, because it's like, okay, I'm going to get up. Because what time do you guys meet? 10, right?
Yeah, we meet at 10 and then we start stretch. I say we start stretching at 10 o'clock, so people like, there's a lot of people who get there like, oh shit, we're stretching already, but like we're just chilling.
Yeah.
We start stretching. We start stretching at 10:30. We start running at like 10:40.
That's cool, man. And then like 4 quick miles, probably at 45 minutes to an hour, and then for like at a slower pace, and then people like just feel good about themselves. It's like, hey, now I can eat brunch guilt free. I earned my brunch.
Yeah. No, for real. And honestly, I feel like the common theme people have been saying is like our Run Club is based out of a recovery studio. So they do like compression therapy and cryotherapy session afterwards. And most Run Clubs here in Charlotte are based at breweries. And so I feel like we attract like this, I don't want to say, I think we take like more serious about their health runners, I would say. Like they appreciate having options that doesn't have to do with drinking. And so that's also like a cool thing to have. And
recovery is like cool now.
Yeah, it's the end thing. I feel like it's a good, and even too, like talking about it, like when I'm talking to people about Run Club, like, oh, like I don't know, but like, well, you get a free compression and cryotherapy session. Like, oh man, like you just sold me. So it's definitely a great thing backing the Run Club, I would say.
That's your blue ocean strategy for your Run Club. That's the differentiator.
It is, and then actually we've been so not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday, we're going to start another day. We're going to call it Track Tuesdays. We're going to meet at the track every Tuesday, and we'll be knocking out. Essentially, I'm selfishly turning this into like my marathon training team.
Everyone's going to run with me while I train for the marathon.
Yeah, and so essentially, like for the people who are doing the 5K, we created a team for a 5K in like 3 weeks, and so we have like 10 people who are going to run the 5K. So like whatever race that's coming up, we're going to be doing like workouts appropriate, like accordingly towards that race as well. So,
that's dope. Yeah, I made the verbal commitment like 2 episodes ago. I was like, yes, I'm going to run the San Diego Marathon. And
tell them what you did yesterday, big dog.
And 8 miles. 8 miles. Now, some people might hear that and be like, psh, that's nothing. But let me tell you, 8 miles ain't nothing. You don't know how long a mile is until you're running it. Until you can't stop.
8 of them.
Dude, I tell you what. But no, it was fun. It was great. I sent you those pictures. I'm definitely fortunate in where I'm at because the weather's perfect all the time, and like I'm running along on the road overlooking like a top 10 beach in the world. So it's like definitely that helps. But I found this week, so I went like 0. So this week was week 1. I'm following the training plan that you sent me. This week was week 1, and I went 0 from running 0 miles a week to I ran 18 miles this week.
From couch to hero.
And it's crazy. This is something people can acknowledge conceptually in the like, oh, your mind is super powerful and like what you tell yourself matters. Like it's something that we can like conceptualize and we can tell ourselves, and that reinforces like, okay, positive self-talk because blah, 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 whatever. But it's been really interesting for me this week to see it actually play out in that Monday I ran 3 miles. Wednesday I ran 4 miles. I did Monday 3, Wednesday 3, Friday 4, Saturday 8. At the end of each of those runs, the first 3 mile run, it was my first run, and we got up in the morning, and at 2 miles, I was like, woof. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know. And I just was like counting, like, looking at my watch, like every 20 seconds, like, did I go a mile yet? Kind of thing. And just like counting down, whatever. And then Friday when I ran 4 miles, kind of the same thing. When I ended the run, when I was like approaching that 4 mile thing, when I stopped, I was like, I was elated. I was on top of the world, but I was like, yo, and how many? I'm supposed to do twice that? I don't think it's possible. I don't think I can do twice that tomorrow. But then I just woke up with the decision. I was like, well, I'm going to run. And I ran it, and it's so interesting because just knowing that I had the distance to run that I'd set out to run, and in the back of my head, I was also okay, not as an excuse, but I knew like, hey, I wasn't going to compromise like either my knee or my ankle. Like if I like felt like bad pain, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do 6, 7, whatever. But I knew where I was trying to go. And honestly, at like mile, I passed 4 and I was like cruising. I was like, oh, like I'm feeling good right now. Like there's nothing. And then I kind of just got in a rhythm, but it's just crazy that like nothing about my fitness changed from Friday to Saturday.
Right.
But
it's all that mind shift.
It's a mind, and it wasn't even like it was just not even intentional. Almost, it wasn't like, okay, I'm harnessing the power of it. No, it was just like I know that this is what I got to do, and so I'm going to do it. Right. So it's been really interesting, and I'm excited to see like how that extrapolates a little bit further as I go along. I will say I wasn't tired, like out of breath at the end of my run, but I was. It's going to be it was a fight to keep my legs in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm curious to see how how that mental is there as you get into like the bigger mile, like your bigger long runs. But at the same time, like I feel like relatively you'll probably feel the same like after each one, just because like you're slowly building up those miles.
Yeah.
But you should definitely like on your long runs, once you hit at least like mile 10, this is like a random thought, is to start working on your in run feel, like your long run feelings, like whatever you want to use during the race, like to fuel yourself, like whatever foods are like
fuel,
energy source. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Start playing with that. Cause I feel like, at least for me, I feel like after mile 8, that's when my body starts to like need something just like to push itself. But in terms of needing something, let's talk about your nipples, bro. How are they feeling?
I was about to say, dude, my nipples needed something yesterday. It's so funny because Friday you told me, you were like, anytime I run 7 miles or more, I gotta wear Band-Aids or the anti-chafing or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I already got Band-Aids, which I did. And I meant to put them on, didn't. Hindsight, I live in Hawaii, just go shirtless. But I was at like mile 5 and I texted Danielle, my wife, and was like, my nipples are chafing. This is not good. And fortunately they never got they didn't get bad. They just like got a little bit raw. And then by the end it was like people were asking me how I felt. I was like, well, my knees and my nipples hurt. So, the nipples.
How do your nipples feel in the shower?
Oh, they like burned, like hurt, like sensitive, know, they still do right now. It's like, I woke up this morning, you wake up, you get a heavy lift in or a long run, your knees hurt. I'm so sore, bro. Yeah. The nips were gnawing this morning. They weren't nipping. Good. Yeah. So the nips were nipping. So, yeah, definitely a learning curve, but no, dude, it's great. It's exciting. I'm actually like excited, and it's cool because a whole new area for me of training, right? I've gone from like lifting 5 to 6 days a week and like walking for cardio, to now running a little bit longer distances 4 days a week and lifting full body, lightweight lifts, kind of in it, like shorter, 30 to 45 minutes. I hit every body group, just a little bit higher volume, 2 to 3 days a week. And it's cool. It's exciting. It's fun. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's just a whole new way of training. Yeah. So right now I'll make it public. I'll publish my numbers, but I go to the Army has a, they call it the bod pod. Like, they have this like pod you can sit in and.
I've done that before.
Yeah. They'll do your body fat and, all that stuff, lean muscle mass. So, I have my second appointment at the end of this month. And I'll like publish my numbers and stuff and we'll track it. But my goal right now, I'm at like 245 right now, around like almost 15 point, like basically 16% body fat. So, my goal, and I don't know if this is a scientific goal, but I would like to get maybe for racing, like 230. Yeah, like 12 to 13% body fat. So, I'll be like a gazelle out there, dog.
Oh, man, you should be my pacer. You should help pace me for the first half.
Well, I don't. I hopefully I'll be able to. We'll see.
I think, bro. I remember you were kind of fast a little bit in high school. You weren't like fast, but you weren't like. You were hanging with the brothers. I'll say that.
It's the first time anybody's ever called me fast. So, thanks.
I'm not saying you're not slow. That's all I'd say. You're above average. I'll give you above average.
Thanks.
Above average.
Appreciate it.
But that's still fast compared to most humans.
Yeah, I guess. Speaking of all this stuff, running and mindset and stuff like that. I got a framework for you that I heard this week. If you want to hear it, unless you want to get into something else.
No, let's get into framework.
All right. So I don't have a name. I don't remember if there's a name for this. We'll call it the quadrant for life. I don't know. I'll come up with a name, but I heard it on Andrew Huberman's podcast. He just did it like this 5-episode series with Andy Galpin, who's another smart guy. And the problem with these shows, dude, is they're like 3 hours long.
Dude, yeah.
It's like they're super long. And I was talking to Zach, our friend Zach, the other day, and Zach is like, yeah, they're so long and they have show notes, but the show notes need show notes. Like, because they go so in depth and there's so much information that like, it's like, there's just so much there and it's there, but it takes quite a commitment to like extrapolate. But,
that is like, so essentially they have a 3-hour, very in-depth show or conversation that's already super in-depth, and they have like sub notes about it that are so in-depth that it takes about 3 hours to get through that. As well, I don't know
if it takes 3 hours to get through the notes, but like the notes themselves are so like detailed. They're not like, you know, they need their own concise, like bulleted stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But so Andy Galpin laid this thing out, and we'll do a little exercise here, and we'll see where your score is at. So, Phil, and anyone listening, you have 4 quadrants, right? You have four squares. In one square is your business or work. Okay. Another square, you have relationships, so family, friendships, whatever. in another square, you have your fitness. So like workout, whatever, anything fitness related. And then in the other square, you have your recovery. Okay. So you have these four categories: business work. You know, if you own your own business or you work, you don't, but whatever your work is, relationships, fitness, and recovery. Okay. In these four categories, you have 10 total points that you can allocate to each group, but your total, whatever you allocate, can't go above 10 points. So for example, let's say in the points are relative to the energy and effort and emphasis that you're putting on that particular field. Okay. So someone's might look like business and work. It's a 5. Like they put like a lot of energy, a lot of work into a 5. Relationships, we'll call it a 2. And then you have fitness 2, recovery 1. Right?
Okay.
That
So
equals
I have
10
total in those 4 boxes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's a measure of the energy and the emphasis and the priority that you're placing in those categories. So we'll go there. If you had to assess your life right now, where you feel like you're at, where would you what do you think that would be?
Yeah. I would definitely put a 1 at relationships.
Okay.
I feel like I feel like that's always been a constant. I'm not the best at keeping like friends or even like staying in contact with family unless it's like we're building something or there's like some sort of, there has to be something there for me to do that. I would give fitness 4.
Okay.
I would give recovery 3, and I would give business 2.
Okay. Interesting. 2, and yours is a little bit skewed too because you're like work business.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of the same.
Not the real estate piece, but just like work, business, and fitness kind of overlap. All these things overlap, and there's no right way to do it. But so your work and business, you have a 2. Relationships, you have a 1. Fitness, you have a 4. Recovery, you said 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like the tool for assessing where you're at right now. Now let's look at, and you're pretty dialed in. So it might, this is what you would use in the event of like, okay, here's where I am. And you have to, the key to this is being honest with yourself. It's like, and you are, right? It's like relationships, I'm a 1.
Yeah.
You have to look at what do I want to improve or where am I going? What goals do I have? So give me an example of just maybe a goal that you have that's the not fitness related.
Yeah. I would say I have a goal this year to, I guess the business is make $300,000.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say
so you have a financial goal, right? So, So using this, we know, okay, here's the end goal. I know that at the end of this fiscal year or this year, I want to make X amount of dollars. And so my question to you would be, in order to do that, is that realistic while having a 2 in your business budget?
Yeah, I would say definitely not. I feel like, to be honest, I feel like it would be realistic if I get that up to a 4. Only because I feel like with my fitness and recovery goals, I feel like they, like how we kind of talked about it, like they all kind of correlate in one another. Yeah. And what I found for myself, at least, is like whenever I'm competing in bodybuilding or MMA or now kind of running, I feel like I do better business wise because people start to follow my journey and they start to like pay attention more to the content and stuff I'm posting, and that therefore correlates into a better, like, more business. Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then the exercise becomes, all right, I know that I need to put more in my business quadrant. So but I still can't go over 10 points. So where am I going to take my points from? So a reminder, you have 2, 1, 4, 3. Yeah. So you're saying you think you need to get the business to a 4, right? Yeah. So that leaves you with 6 points remaining. So how do we where are we going to take from to add there?
Yeah. So I would probably say, so to be completely honest with you, I would say in this season of life, I would take away from relationships. I would make that a 0. And I would say that outside of like friends and like people that and family that I'm like building business with, I don't really care to be around
Let
them.
me rephrase. Let me put a parameter here. You have to have one point in it. Yes. In one in each.
Well, then if that's the case, I would have to take one away from like recovery and the one away from fitness, working out. And I would say what would I eliminate between like from those things to like add to business? I would say I would be more intentional on my runs to record, because that's also like business is for me is also creating content.
Yeah.
So maybe not necessarily locked. Like, yes, I am locked in on my runs and my heart rates and all that shit. But like, also, I'm also paying attention to on my long. I'm not sure if you noticed, but like I've done like a few breakup videos where like I'm running, and I'm like tip 1's like doing more of those and like being intentional on those runs with that.
Yeah.
And then I would say for the like one thing with recovery would be it'd probably be not subbing classes at Barry's anymore. So therefore I'm not exerting as much energy and I'm giving myself more time to like I don't need as much recovery time because I'm not teaching as many classes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, you jumped ahead. That's exactly. So that's pretty much that's the point of this is that you use these are your categories and then using those, okay, I have to reallocate my points. Then becomes, okay, now I have to make the decision. I'm going to decide ahead of time what I'm not going to do.
Right.
In order to like put more energy and effort into all these things. I don't know. Yeah. I thought it was a really like,
yeah, I think that's great.
I'm sure I didn't do the best job of regurgitating that information, but I just think it's a really useful tool for anybody to kind of look at where they are currently in life and within the framework of these categories and forces you to be honest with yourself. And then honestly, you could probably sit down for like an hour and just really get into the weeds of like, okay, this is the thing that I say that I want to do. For like, if someone, if someone is trying to has a goal, they want to run a marathon. Okay, well, I know that right now my relationship category is at a 5. So I need to, not me speaking, but just hypothetically, if my relationships are at a 5, it doesn't leave quite enough time for me to do the proper training and proper recovery that I need. So what are the actions that I'm not going to do in order to free up my time? So maybe that's, Monday through Friday, like I'll allow for a little bit of deviation, but generally speaking, if I get invited to go out to dinner on a weekday night, I'm just going to say no. Like, and I've already decided in that way, and obviously there's nuance to that. There's different scenarios where that might not be the case, but it allows you to make these decisions ahead of time.
Yeah, no facts. And so then you already know what you're going to do. So it's not like, oh man, it takes away that even guessing game of like what the decision is going to be because you know what your commitment is ahead of time. It's kind of like a rainy day fund for like that. What if it were to happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, okay. Did I send you the video about monk mode?
I've seen it. What's his name? What's his name?
I don't know his name, but
Iman.
He's actually a very interesting character.
He blew up in the last year on social media. I've seen him, yeah.
But the way he explains monk mode, I actually like the way he does it. So he's like, he's like, in my opinion, I have the most focus of anybody I've met. And like when I'm working in and dialed into work, I work the hardest, harder than anybody. But when I party. And he was like, this is how I do it. He was like, for 6 months out of the year, I go into full and locked in monk mode. And then for 3 months of the year, I'm in straight party mode. Like business goes down to like my 4th priority and all I do is party and just enjoy myself. And then for the remaining 3 months, I am like rebalancing my life to get back into like, I'm getting ready for monk mode again. But like my work goes to like maybe 2 or 3. I'm not partying as hard. So like I have that, so he has that balance. So like, I was like, I really like that because I feel like a lot of people, at least in like the manosphere, preach like like I don't know, like monk mode, but it has to be like 24/7 or like all year round. And like,
Yeah.
not that I want like I don't care to drink. Like it's not my thing, but
Yeah.
like it was fun to go to Miami with my friend Sean, and like for the entire weekend I just drank like crazy, and then like I come back home like up just back to like I don't drink anymore. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and I don't want to feel bad for doing that either because like I feel like I had to convince myself like oh like it's okay to drink, but like
Yeah.
it is because I for 362 days of the year I'm probably won't have a drink. You know what I mean? So it's like it's cool to essentially the way he puts it is like start off with 21 days of going monk mode with, and then he has like his three non-negotiables is number one is to exercise every day for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is no weed or no alcohol. And then the third one is to meditate or to pray for at least 10 minutes a day. That's like, I thought it was like very simple. And like, I don't feel like it's, to be honest, I want the podcast to hold me accountable. So starting after tomorrow will be day number one of no smoking. And I'm going to go, like, I'm going to try this whole monk mode out for 30 days just to see like what I feel or what results I have.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hate it. I don't hate I like it too, but I also think it's like kind of relative to personalities. So like you and me do really well. Guys like us do very well with extremes.
Yeah.
So like it's impossible for me to do something not like completely submerged. Like I can't just like dip my toes in one area and then they kind of do it. Is Rocco okay?
Yeah, that's his thing. So like if he wants attention, he just whines.
Oh no. But I think for the general population, there's a lot of people that need a little bit more balance, which is fine. Here's the problem with that. I kind of feel like, and the reason I think monk mode might make sense for some people is that, one, a lot of people maybe don't have the ability to do that. Just given their financial or work situation or whatever they do, they might not be able to just like turn off the rest of the world, but monk mode is cool because most people do life like at with half measures. So like you went and drank for a week and you kind of maybe towed
3 days. My goal is to reach a week in like 2 years. I want to talk about this in a few.
Okay, so yeah, but you drank for 3 days. You went crazy. You had your fill in that sense, and then it was done. It was like you didn't just do halfway. You don't just like a couple drinks, it was like I did it, and that's drinking is probably not the best example for this, but because you had your fill, it's like okay, I'm done, and now I can focus on all these other things, and I'm not distracted by this stuff. Most people, I feel, kind of live life in just this like flatlined state, right? Where it's like middle, not too high, not too low. It's just kind of like, so, I think it's cool. I think it'd be great. I'd be interested. I don't know. I think relationships are really important. So it would be hard for me to just kind of like shut everything off and just like grind, without the relationship piece. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool framework. What you want to get up to a week of drinking?
Oh, bro. Okay. So remember how we talked about our 5-year goals and we just I want to come back to this?
Yeah.
So I got lunch with my friend the other day and she was like at the end, she's like, so I feel like every year I go to my friend's, it's called Carnival in Miami. Have you heard of Carnival?
I've heard of it. I've not. Isn't it like originates in Brazil and then
it originated in Trinidad, and that's where my friend Sean's from. Okay. And so his family goes to the one in Miami every year. And so like this is my second year going. The first year I went for one day, like I partied like a motherfucker, but like all I could handle was one day. But they're there for like an entire week. Yeah. And so I told them that each year I have another day in me. And so this year I gave them 2 more days. I got 3. And so I told them once I get to 7 days, I'll go, like they want to go to Trinidad and go to like actual carnival. Yeah. And so I told them that give me like 2 years and I'll make it to 7 days with them. And so the girl was like, all I got out of this like conversation is like your goals are to qualify for Boston and to make it to be able to drink for 7 days in a row. I thought that was like I thought it was really funny because I was like, oh shit, like
that sounds terrible.
It does. So okay. Again, I don't drink like throughout the year.
Yeah,
it's not really my thing. But like the way they do it, I like I never had a hangover. Like because they party literally all day long. Like it's from 7 in the morning to like midnight, and so like you just have enough time to get enough sleep to like be barely alive the next day, and you're already drinking again. So like it's
I could
fun,
think of nothing worse sounding. Maybe
dude,
like,
you got to come experience it. But also, that's why I got to build my way up. It's going to take me at least 2 to 3 more years to get to 7 days.
Yeah.
It's like, when I say it's a lot of music, like it's a lot of, like even like, so essentially like the outfit for these things is like, naked. Yeah, bro. And so like, you're essentially, like this year it was raining, bro, during one of the events. So like, you're having to face the elements while you're half naked.
It was primal. You felt primal. In tune with your
I felt like I felt like they called me the liver prince.
The liver prince.
My 7 ancestral.
Hey, well, the throne is up for taking after the steroid uses. So maybe we'll make a hostile takeover of Liver King in their supplements. I got an interesting news story for you. Did you know February 10th through the 16th? So right now, this is actually really important for you, Phil.
Oh my God! Is it Black History Month facts?
No, no, I wouldn't have said that like. No, but I should have come with some of those. Right now, until the 16th of February, everybody under the sound of my voice, if you go propose in a Cracker Barrel and you take a photo of it and post it to social media, you enter to win free Cracker Barrel for life.
You only enter to win, you don't get it guaranteed?
No, yeah, I thought the same thing, but at the same time also it's like, well, that'd be kind of dope. 1, I think free pancakes for life. Yes, sir. 2, is it just the food or the little stores that they have in Cracker Barrel? Like, do I get free stuff in there? Because that's free Christmas gifts for my aunts and uncles for life. And then
and all what's that white elephant? Those look great.
Yeah, exactly. So or Yankee Swap, office reference. But 2, I was like, interesting. It's an interesting like marketing play for Cracker Barrel, and I haven't quite figured out what the why. Who was like
their blue ocean is
exactly. So I'm still working on it. So if anyone knows why Cracker Barrel would offer free Cracker Barrel for life to anyone proposing in their stores for the next 6 days, please. I'm sure it has something to do with Valentine's Day, maybe, but please let us know because it's a mystery to me.
Yeah, dude, random and nothing to do with Cracker Barrel, but what are your thoughts on microdosing mushrooms?
Oh, I think they should be legal.
Yeah.
I think that the evidence is overwhelming in support of psilocybin there's many use cases, specifically in the areas that have to do with anxiety and depression. When we talk about the production of serotonin, right? So most antidepressants, they don't produce serotonin. So a lot of people that are on antidepressants, they have a serotonin issue where their body just doesn't generate a proper amounts of serotonin. So what the antidepressants will do is recycle serotonin that their brain's already producing. So it doesn't make any more. It's just recycling that which is already made. Psilocybin is the only pharmaceutical, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure, that has been shown in a study, and it wasn't in the United States, but to actually produce serotonin. So I think the implications of that are massive, just from like an antidepressant anxiety medication perspective, because you have millions of people, women who are on antidepressants who also want to get pregnant, and they can't be on the medication while they're pregnant. So it's like, okay, I've been on this medication for 5 years. Now I'm pregnant. Now what do I do?
Right.
So I think That's massive. You talk about even everything. There's use cases for rheumatoid arthritis,
Right.
like, people with degenerative.
You've done some research on this.
Yeah, actually, I have. Just so everybody, we didn't plan to discuss this prior. You just asked that, but it's something that's been very interesting to me as of late, and I've like listened to quite a few stuff on it. Why? What do you think?
Well, this is day number 2 of dose number 2. So I started microdosing on Wednesday. That was day 1, and so
nice.
yeah, I'm doing 0.3 grams every essentially 4 days.
Yeah.
And kind of to your point, right? So this is only my second dose, so I only have so much to base this experience off of, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped smoking for the first like 3-ish days or so.
Yeah.
And I genuinely had zero urge to smoke. Like, it was very interesting. I had zero, and I also, I guess, the anxiety was at a very minimum compared to what it typically is. So I have noticed that from this, like, this is literally day 4.
Yeah.
And then this morning, so typically when you smoke a lot of marijuana, you don't get dreams. And so once you stop smoking, about like week 3, you get like a shit ton of dreams. And so they call it like a dream debt. And so you're just kind of like overwhelmed with dreams. And so it's not at that point yet of no smoking where that dream debts come. And I took the microdose this morning and I fell back asleep and I had a very vivid dream.
Yeah.
And it was I was missing my ring finger, and like the number 22 kept like just like it was a very consistent number.
Yeah.
And like when I woke up, a missing ring finger. I don't really. I read like 3 different articles, and like they all kind of said the same thing, but it was also kind of like confusing, maybe. But like from what I did put together from what it was saying was like it comes from like a lack of identity, or like trying to find like who you are, or like having self-confidence in who you truly are, which I feel like I could see that in this season of life, especially like post breakup, and like kind of like just refocusing back on myself and my goals, and what like trying to just figure out what my pivot is for this season of life.
Yeah.
And the number 22 represents like essentially 2-2. Is that what number you're 55? But 22 is like this like they're the same number essentially, but and like it's like a big end of a new chapter is what it says. But I just thought it was very interesting because I took that microdose this morning, and I feel like I know I don't typically get dreams, and at least I don't remember them ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the period of like not smoking where like those vivid dreams come.
Yeah.
So I'm going to attribute that to taking the psilocybin this morning. Yeah. So it's been interesting, and I've been like, I plan on doing it for 30 days at least minimum. But in that 30 days, I would like to give up smoking like for the entire period of time, and possibly longer, so I can see. Because I started smoking marijuana for anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see how my body handles psilocybin versus marijuana, and then also like after the 30 days. Well, essentially, I have enough for 2 months worth of microdosing, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue after 30 days, but it'd be very interesting to see how my body responds, whether I continue to do it or not after 30 days with marijuana as well. So
2 thoughts. One, just between when we're comparing psilocybin and marijuana, the all-cause mortality rate, so ACM, all-cause mortality, meaning your chances of dying at any given time. It could be like from a car crash. The mechanism by which you die varies, but like just the rate of all-cause mortality for smokers versus non-smokers. And when we say smokers, it could be cigarettes, marijuana, vape, doesn't matter. Inhalation, the smoke in the lungs, all-cause mortality goes up by 40%. So from that perspective, it's like, I'm not saying never to smoke, but I'm just saying like that's a very interesting statistic. And when I heard that, it was like, whoa. So when comparing the two, it's an interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot of nuance to that. Like people might have like, well, whatever. 2, there's a Joe Rogan episode you should check out. He has 2 with this guy. His name's Paul Stamets maybe. He's like the leading mycologist, I think, in the United States.
I think I was listening to some of the stuff this morning, actually.
You may have been. He's got some really interesting. He's a great storyteller. But I'll share this briefly. He tells a story where he didn't. It was like in the 70s, and psilocybin wasn't like mainstream. People like were getting into it, but didn't really know like how powerful it was, effects, whatever. He gets a bag for like $20, and I don't know how much is in there, but there's a lot of psilocybin in there. And he didn't know any better, so he eats the whole bag. And yeah, eats the whole bag. So, and then he goes on a walk this is like the most hippie shroom story ever, but he goes for a walk in the woods, and he decides to climb a tree for whatever purpose. And I'm gonna butcher the details here, but he climbs up in the tree, and he sees like this storm rolling in, like legit. He's not like hallucinating. There's a massive storm coming in, and while he's up there, he starts to go in like full panic mode, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna die!" So he's starting to trip pretty hard, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna die," whatever. And then he comes to a point where he's like, "No, like I'm gonna use this to my advantage." Like the details escape me, but the point is, he had his whole life really struggled with stuttering. Like he had a very bad speech impediment. He's like 19, 20 years old at this point. Really bad, to the point where like he couldn't make eye contact with people because he'd get nervous. And what happens in the brain, it's like it's a synaptic like lapse where people that stutter, the reason that they stutter is because their brain is moving too fast, where I'm speaking sentence number 1, but my brain is thinking about sentence number 2. So it like freezes your speech, and therefore like you get stuck and you can't, move on. So he said something to the effect of, in this experience, he starts saying like, "I'm done stuttering," or he just like starts saying something to that effect over and over and over again. Like no more stuttering, whatever. He climbs back on the tree. The storm passes. He survives, and he falls asleep. I don't know if it's on the ground or something, but he just falls asleep. When he wakes up, he goes back to like town or I don't know. There was a girl that he really liked, and she was like he was kind of like nerdy, whatever. She was like the popular girl, but was always very nice to him. And he said he never looked her in the eyes, never even like, he really liked her, had this like secret crush on her, but he was like, he couldn't look at her in the eyes because he just couldn't speak.
Right.
He walks past her on the street, and she goes, "Hello, Paul. Good morning," or good afternoon. And he said he looks up, locks eyes with her, and says, "Good morning, Sarah. Nice to see you today." Like pure, just flow. I don't know exactly what he said, but like no stuttering, eye contact. And since that day, he's never stuttered since. Yeah. So with that, there's just so many implications for like the rewiring of the brain. Like I think it's just such a potentially powerful tool. And that's the difference, right? Is because there's people that will see and think shrooms and like, party drug. But that's not what it is. It's a tool to be used. And it could be for being more creative. It could be for rewiring the brain in situations like people that stutter. And then he went on, obviously now he's like mycologist and has done a lot of work in the field. But yeah, Tim Ferriss, all these guys are like Joe Rogan, really push hard for the legalization of psilocybin and mushrooms. And I don't know if we'll see it because it's not something that big pharma can control.
Yeah. Do you see that Biden hired like a lady, like it's like part of like the new whatever administration, like the food or whatever, and she was saying that obesity can't be overcome with workouts.
Brother. Yeah. They said obesity. We didn't talk about this. Yeah, they said there was a huge thing. Is that there are two things: that obesity is genetic, and 2, that they put out the new like food
chart
thing and said that like cereal.
Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms was better for you than like steak. Yeah. Just complete fabrication. It's like, yes, if your parents are obese, you do have a more.
Our podcast just got canceled.
What do you mean? Oh, I know. I was like, we're done. Now we're on the before. Yeah. No, if your parents are obese, yeah, you do have a higher likelihood of being obese because they're probably feeding you what they're eating. Yeah. So by the time you're 14, on all you've eaten are Captain Crunch and McDonald's, yeah, you're going to be obese.
Maybe you should ask your parents for Lucky Charms.
It's just it's insane. It's insane. The sad part is that there's a lot of sheep, and that all these sheep are gonna look at, like, it sounds crazy to even say this out loud, but there are people that are gonna see that and be like, hell yeah, I can eat Lucky Charms.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those are the same people who aren't able to do the monk mode, to be honest.
I don't think they're interchangeable, but yeah, for sure, those people, yeah, they wouldn't be in monk mode.
Because I honestly, bro, I feel like you could do monk mode. Because like, it's not like he's saying you can't go out and enjoy your friends or hang out. It's just saying like your priority in that like short period of time is like business.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the way Iman puts it, where it's like there is a balance in the life. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who say it should be like that 24/7, which I feel like that is not the case. But then also the way Iman puts it is like those are the three things: is no drinking, smoking, no workout every day for 30 minutes, read that time. And then the third thing is the praying and meditating. And he's like, you can add other variables like that, like you want. And so like, one thing I appreciated was like, he was like it wasn't like no sex or like no, like, and like, not that that's like a huge thing, but I feel like it just takes, I don't know, this makes it seem like you can't go and do, like, it just puts you in this box of like, damn, you could only be, I don't know. I make sense in my head. I feel like I need to figure out how to articulate this better. But I feel like,
No. You're saying no, it's your camera that's distracting you. You're saying that there's balance and that executing quote monk mode, how it plays out will look different person to person, but there's balance to be had, and it's just another way of prioritizing things in your life and making what's important in that season of life the most important thing.
Yeah, because like, for example, right?
Yeah, so your camera has a time limit, huh?
I think so. I think it's an hour. But like for the people who are obese, right, and they follow this monk mode, if they work out every single day for 30 minutes a day and they don't drink and smoke for 30 days per se, I could almost guarantee they lose that 10, 15 pounds, and now they're a little bit more confident in themselves than they were prior to going through that monk mode. Well, I don't have the discipline to actually follow through with that. Because it doesn't say anything about, like, he doesn't talk about, like, having to follow. I mean, because he doesn't talk about, like, having to follow a diet either, or like, no longer going out to eat. So I feel like it gives you that freedom of, like, still being able to go and enjoy your life too.
Yeah, sure. There's balance, and it'll look different person to person, but no, I absolutely agree with that. All right, I'm gonna do one more story. I'll leave you with a fun fact, and then we'll close this out because your camera's telling us it's time to get off the pod. So you ready for this? Is a great in honor of Super Bowl Sunday. Unfortunately, this episode won't come out prior to the Super Bowl, which is when it'd be useful. But I will, whatever. You can know it. You can know it for the future, and then it's good. And you'll know today. I don't know if what your plans are for the Super Bowl, but so this is a great fact. You know the commonality of quarterbacks after the winning quarterback after the Super Bowl, and they're interviewing them. They're like, "What are you going to do now?" What do they say?
I'm going to Disneyland.
There you go. I'm going to Disneyland. Yes, that's not just happenstance. That's not an accident. That actually started. That was by design, and now has become commonplace. So what happened is, the year is 1978. No, 1987.
Okay.
It's 1987. The CEO of Disney, or whoever's like running Disney, CMO of Disney, I don't know, was having dinner with George Lucas, the Star Wars guy that directed Star Wars, and directed, created, wrote.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't.
Whatever. somebody's going to be mad. I don't know. Okay, anyways, he was having dinner with George Lucas, Star Wars guy, and I don't know what the conversation was like at dinner, but it was like a week before the Super Bowl, and that phrase came up during discussions, like, I'm going to Disney World, and George Lucas goes, that should be your slogan. And whoever it was, the CMO or the CEO, sat on it for like a couple of days and thought, like, that's kind of a good idea. Calls both the quarter, so we're 3 days out from the Super Bowl, calls both quarterbacks, so the quarterbacks are Phil Simms and John Elway, calls both of their agents and says, hey, we got a proposition for you. Come Super Bowl Sunday, if your guy wins, tell him we'll pay him $75,000, which I don't know what the math is on that, but in 1987, it's quite a bit of money. We'll pay him $75,000, and we'll fly him and his family trip free to Disney World, and it'll be a great thing. He didn't have to do anything. That's all he has to say is, I'm going to Disney World. Like, what are you going to do? So the agent, it ends up being Phil Simms that wins the Super Bowl. And that 3 days prior, his agent approaches him and says, like, with this proposition. And Phil Simms is like, dude, I don't want to think about that. I'm trying to focus on the game. Like, I don't even want to hear about it. And the agent's like, yeah, I got it. Come on. But like, this is nothing to you. Like, just do it. Just keep it in the back of your mind, whatever. And Phil Simms is like, no, I'm not doing it. Well, Super Bowl happens. Phil Simms ends up winning. They are recording him after they're interviewing after the game, blah, 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 blah. He leaves. He goes to run off the field, and he stops, and he turns around and runs back to the camera, grabs the microphone, and says, oh, and I'm going to Disney World. And that is like kind of knowing that the iconic moment of like starting this little tidbit of the I'm going to Disney World thing. And so since then, now, present day, what it looks like is Disney calls both quarterbacks before the games. So probably this week or last week, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes got phone calls, and they have to sign. And so Disney pays both quarterbacks now up front. Doesn't matter who wins. They just pay them and have them sign and say that they agree to say these words, and then they get paid some absurd amount of money and a trip to Disney World.
Damn.
So pretty good little fun fact there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so take that. You can be the uppity smart guy at the Super Bowl party and be like, hey, do you know how that started? Just there's tons of Super Bowl little tidbits like that. But yeah, man, you got anything else? I think that's the pod.
Bro, that was a good pod. I think so far our best one. Do you have a hustler of the week? Dude, I do. I have a hustler of the week.
All right, go for it.
All right, I'm giving the hustler of the week to Emma. Her last name is Eklund.
Emma.
Yeah, so
Emma Eklund.
I appreciate you, dude. She reached out to the Run Club this week and was like, hey, I would love to run the 5K, the Corporate Cup, as like a team. And she took the initiative to create the team as well. And so that made me super hyped about the Run Club and like, yeah, the future of it, and to have a team now to run the Corporate Cup. I just feel like we're a legit little crew of runners, and it's exciting to see where we're going to go to. And I just appreciate her support and, yeah, her thinking of wanting to help out with the run crew.
All right. There you have it. Emma Eklund, hustler of the week, starting run teams, leading the pack, doing races, running for fun. Who does that? Who runs for fun?
So the crazy part is she's come to 2 of the run clubs, and both times they've both been on the rainy day. So apparently she only likes to run in the rain.
Dude, Emma, low key, they call her the female David Goggins. People have said that. People have said that. Like her mindset, they see her and they're like, that's the female David Goggins. So shout out to Emma.
Emma, you're a real one. Appreciate you, homie.
All right, brother. I think that'll close us out. What are your last words? Sign off for me.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you coming to the world's tallest podcast, aka Who Cares What They Think. We'll see y'all next week. Hopefully we'll have a guest on here soon. Just drop out a comment who you'd like us to get on here, whether it's David Goggins, whether it's your dad, or it's your local, pastry chef. So just let us know who we should have on here, and we'll crush it.
Shout out, if you're a pastry chef, we want you on the pod. We also want you to sponsor the pod. So
that's the real reason.
All right, brother, that'll do it.
All right, dog. Have a good day.
All right, man. Later.